once you've found a property that you're interested in with Nimbus Maps Elite, the system will offer you a free Nimbus report. To get one of those, simply go to the bottom left-hand bottom of the left-hand side panel and click on the report there. Go through the usual checkout process. The system will go off and generate that report and email you across a copy of it. It will also put a copy of that in your managed accounts section over here. Once that report has been generated, sometimes they can take a minute or so to generate. What it'll look like is the report that I'm showing you here. So the front page shows you some information around a particular property, some of the key constraints, whether there's kind of any flooding and things like that that might be relevant to it. It then gives you chapter and verse on the property itself. So in this case, I've got a number of factories on the title that we're looking at. And that goes through and shows me all the sizes and shows me those kind of rates per square foot from the rates assessment for those commercial buildings. It then tells me information about the owners of the building and kind of what else they own, when they bought those properties and the sizes of those. So it gives us links through to be able to see the properties that particular business owns. And then any kind of comparables that have been found through the through our data sets here at Nimbus Maps. So what we can see here is sort of 3 warehouses that have been sold that are kind of comparable to the warehouses and the factories that are on our site that we're looking at. And those 3 kind of showing us the companies that bought them and title numbers, date they bought them, and sort of some information around those kind of distances to our particular site and size of the properties and the sort of rates assessment, sort of rateable value per square foot, just to kind of prove it's comparable in effect. And it also shows us any leases that have been granted nearby and the dates of those. So, Screwfix Direct have taken a lease nearby, and I can link through and see that, or I can go and buy a copy of that lease itself directly through the platform, and same with Toolstation at Travis Perkins and all that sort of stuff. Just below that, it shows us then what those businesses have taken elsewhere and kind of gives us chapter and verse on that, together with information around any other properties that have sold nearby. So running through in sort of detail around all those transactions that have been happening sort of locally and around that building for the different use classes, and run through the information around that. It then gives me a schedule of other companies that own properties nearby to the property that we're looking at, and runs through information around those, whether it's commercial or residential, how far away it is and the addresses of those, links to title number and kind of dates they bought those buildings. So just to give you a feel for who else owns properties nearby. Obviously, I'm selling that building, it might be worthwhile contacting these people, as they obviously own properties nearby to that property that we're looking at. It gives me any traffic flow information that may be relevant within that sort of local area, and schedules that out for me as well. And then just finally shows us some information around those kind of key movers and shakers in the area. So the first section of Section E shows us the commercial freeholds bought in the region in the last 18 months, who's bought the most in effect in that local area, so in the region rather, and then who's bought, how many of those companies also bought nationally. And that just gives you a little schedule of those kind of key movers and shakers. If I'm going to be active in a particular area, then there's probably a number of names on here that I should be looking at in effect, with some of those active companies in effect. Same then on the residential side, so who's buying the most residential freeholds again in the last 18 months, and kind of those active companies sort of shown down here on the left side, and kind of how many they've bought and how many they've bought sort of nationally again. And then the same for properties that have been rented in effect. So you'll then find those very active companies that are taking lots of leases and things like that across that area that we're looking at. So that's that final section, just showing you who those kind of movers and shakers are in the regions that you're active in yourselves. So that report is free on every single property. It's tailored to every single property across the UK, and is all free and provided through your Nimbus Maps Elite. All free, all quick and simple with Nimbus Maps Elite.